I know we're going to be talking about spirit guides. My favorite topic. What about you?
Well, it's very interesting because a lot of people from my website, my Facebook page, so forth, want to know about guides. And then my soul care, they talk about guides. And first of all, yes, we all have guides. People have, is there a certain amount of guides? Not necessarily. And there are certain guides that are assigned to you, or you work with. I believe, Kelly,
Mhm.
I'm not sure what you believe here with this, but before we get back to this lifetime, we sit with our guides and we go through our plan, our curriculum, like upcoming curriculum, what lessons we have to learn, what our karmic obligations are. And there are certain assignments of guides to us, depending on what our life plan will be. And let's say, want to be a painter? Well, you'll have a guide that influences you with painting and bringing out those innate gifts within you come out to the surface, and they help you. When I was a medium, when I, studied medium, I had a medium and a doctor from the other side, a chemist, actually working with my energetic body to be able to open up to
Yeah.
spirit. And we have many guides, and they change over the years. As we develop, they develop. We get new guides for new things. There are some
Mhm.
that last a lifetime. There's some who've had many lifetimes. Many people who pass over, or your friends or family, become a guide of yours sometimes. My mother became my guide when she passed because she said she didn't feel she did enough for me in the physical world, so she can now do something in the spiritual world.
So does that mean that if you have a parent that has not been very good for whatever reason, they could actually come back and I don't want to say to make it up to you, but kind of
That's
karmically
more.
help
Yes,
you?
she felt that she wanted to do more for me. That the potential was there, but she didn't use it because she had her own stuff going on in the lifetime. So she did it from the other side, and I know now she's finished with that. She feels the obligation is done, and she can move on to another things. But yes, we many times have that. Um, so and also you have, I call them opportunity guys. I wrote a book called Wisdom from you guys. Everyone knows. Oh, we have it. You have it. Yes.
Oh, you bet.
No,
Love this book.
it's a good book. It's a basic book about guides and different types of guides. And one thing I want to say is when you enter into a project, let's say making a film, filmmakers here, right?
Right.
And creating something new, a painting or writing a book or music, you will draw to you a new individual or individuals too who are experts in those fields to work with you on that particular project. So when I wrote the book Growing Up in Heaven, I walked into my office when I lived up in Laguna Beach, and there were children, spirit children, all around my desk. And I'm like, what are you doing here? What are you doing? And I saw them very clearly. They made me see them. And they said, we're going to help you with your next book. I'm like, huh? What does that mean? Because they said, you're going to write a book about us. I'm like, what does that mean? And it really is a book about children that have passed over and what they're doing on the other side and how they evolve and so forth. And that's what that book was about. So you do draw to you those specialists, let's say, if you work on something particular. That's a certain type of guide, many different types of guides.
And what tell us about inspiration guides?
So inspirational guides. So inspiration means inspired. So it could be exactly the same thing. So they're inspiring you. So if you're writing, creating something, they will help you to follow through with that. They'll inspire you. Or philosophy guides. Philosophy guides come from the higher realms. And this is interesting to note also. So if you have, let's say, a philosophy guide who comes with beautiful philosophy, as White Eagle was presented
Yeah.
through Grace Cook, the medium Grace Cook, and White Eagle's incredible wisdom comes through. So that philosophical guide will be on that level with her. But there's a guide for White Eagle on the other side as well, on another higher level, and then a higher level. It's like a stairway going down. That inspirer inspires that inspirer, brings that inspirer. So the truth comes down that way. So that the denser vibrations, you see, and it's our job as mediums, I believe, to able to open up and reach those higher levels as best as we can try
Yeah.
to love through doing kindness and compassion and teaching it and living it and reaching those high and always trying to reach the higher levels
Mhm.
of compassion and love, always attempting.
Well, I love that you talk about that our guides are here to teach us certain things and let they have lessons. And I love this one. Never judge another.
Never judge another. Never judge another because you never know what their background is. You don't know what they've been
Yeah.
through. And it's interesting enough that I've heard that guides, of course, they're doing their work like we're doing our work down
Yeah.
here. They're also doing their work. So when they're finished with our project of working with us, they move on to another project or another mission they have to. And I wouldn't always say that guides are better than we are because they're not necessarily. They're in
Mhm.
a position to help you to be the best you can be. And then we could just say that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
An
I,
interesting thing too, which I found in my readings, is so fast. I'm sure you have too, Kelly. So amazing. Well, I have one story I'm going to say in a second, but that there were some guides, very interesting, that I've done a lot of, as you have, kids that have passed over with overdoses, drug addicts, whatever, or fentanyl problems and all that. And I remember the person who came back, it was a gal or a guy, and 20-something-year-old, and they said, "Well, I'm working in Mother Earth. What are they doing over there?" I said, "Well, they've been there 3 years. They're guiding another person who has this addiction problem on Earth, and they're trying to inspire them to move beyond that."
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've seen that. Yep.
Yeah,
Uh,
and yeah, it's pretty amazing. So
yeah. Oh my gosh. Um, we've had I had a really interesting experience with my spirit guides, and I've shared this story before, but I read your book, Talking to Heaven, in 1997. And you say in the book, if you want to talk to your guides, talk to them every day and ask them, to show themselves to you,
if
or
I'm ready
ask
to
them.
sleep at night, just say, "Yeah, please, I would like to see a guide." It won't
Right.
have to be that night, but during the course
Well,
of months, it might.
Well, in my case, and I was a busy, professional, and the last thing I would have thought is that I would see my guides, but I actually every day said, guides, before I went to bed, I want to see you. I want to see you, guides. I want to talk to you, guides. I want to see you, guides. And 3 years later, while I was in Tahiti on a small island with no electricity, my guides physically showed up. And I drew a picture of them because it threw me like you can't imagine. So be careful what you ask for. But my first, be careful, because I have an Indian man from India, and I call her a Jamaican woman, and they showed up, and I've only seen them 2 times after this, but I saw them in dream states after this. But they came in, and I've been with them for very long time. They told me.
I have a couple of guide stories. I might have
Yeah.
told this over the years, but I still find it fascinating. One goes back in the '80s, and a guy I was dating at the time, but we broke up. But he had AIDS when AIDS was first around. He got AIDS, and he didn't believe in life after that. He was a true Taurus boy. He just didn't believe in it. And I did reads for him, and I went for a medium, my teacher, and I said, "No, Michael, there's more to it than this. There is." He goes, and he was very pragmatic. So anyway, he passed over, and I lived in Hollywood. He lived in Culver City, and it was a Sunday morning. And I remember that was the day of his memorial at his house in Culver City. And I'll never forget it. It was at that twilight state. We're just about to wake up. And a woman comes to me, and it was a guy. And right away, it was a guy. And she's a flowing dress. It was this African lady,
Yeah.
Africanese. And she said, and right to me, telepathically, "You need to tell him. He needs to hear it from someone he believes, he knows." And I said, "Oh." And she left, and Michael was there, and he said, "Am I? Like, am I dead?" And I said,
Oh,
"Yes, you are." He goes, "Wow." Because I said, "Well, where do you find yourself?" And he said, "I'm in a closet." I said, "Well, no, you've passed over, Michael, and I'll be at memorial service." So that afternoon, I went to the memorial service, and his brother had it at the house. And I said to his brother, "Where did you put his remains, his ashes?" And he said, "I didn't know what to do with them, so I put them in the shelf in the closet."
oh, he was in the closet.
Wild story.
Oh,
Wild, right? So the guide helped him. And now another really interesting story. I just talked about this a week ago because I still find it fascinating. You guys will love this one. I did Kellee, you know this. I was in Thousand Oaks. I did a demonstration at a church there, or a spiritual space there. And I remember this young man came through for his mom and dad, and he died of a car accident. And I remember that he really wanted to play the guitar. He said to Mom, I always wanted to take lessons. You know that? And she goes, "Yes, he wanted to take guitar lessons." And he was ready to do that. And he was going to get a scholarship. And he came through and said, I'm doing that." And then, so that was fine. And then the next reading or message came from a man on the other side of the room. He said, "There's a man here. He plays guitar," and he does jingles. And he said he's written many. Yeah, I talked about this recently.
no, I was there.
Yeah, you were there. And it was,
Yeah.
it was Harry Nielsen.
No, Dawn was there. We both went, "Oh my God, it's a
Nielsen.
big deal." Yeah.
Harry Nielsen was there. So then we found out that he said, "I'm his guide." Harry Nielsen was this boy's guide to learn how to play the guitar. That's what he was there for. They came together. Get this one. Then you think like, what? Well, that wasn't it. If you remember,
Oh,
the
I remember.
happens, and they're doing a book signing at the end, and the lady comes up and she said, "Well, that was really something about Harry Nielsen. I was a 911 operator that got the call of his heart attack." I was like, what?
That was unbelievable. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I mean, but that's how they orchestrate things.
Yeah, it's very true. They're very involved in our lives. I mean, they're so guiding us.
Mhm.
They're so guiding us all the time. And we just got to remember to step out of the way and just be open. And things happen in weird, strange ways. And like the more you try to control things, hold on tight, the harder it is for them to get through. and the harder
Right.
it for us to be inspired because we're closing down that vessel, that channel.
Well, but we were asked, what's the difference, James, between a guide and an angel?
Well, that's very interesting. Well, this is people might find this amazing, but I don't know if I totally believe in angels. There you go. I think,
Oh, oh
well,
no, I
I,
do very much.
you do.
Very much.
I don't know. I think that angels might be in a different realm altogether. Okay, I'll put it
Okay.
that way. I think that might be maybe more evolved. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a double earth sign. Come on.
I know.
So part of me is like, well, I've heard from other days in the past days of angels that really what had happened was there was someone had a vision of someone, and there was so much light behind them, they thought they had wings,
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
and it was the aura.
Yeah.
And I mean, I believe. I don't know if I don't know if I believe that angel with wings and flying and harps. I don't believe in that. I just don't. I do believe they're inspired beings, very evolved beings. We can call them angels.
Mhm.
Listen. I'm doing a show right now about angels, so I understand. So yeah, and I know. What can I say? I don't know what to say.
Well, I always say this when I get asked that question. I always say
We
that,
don't have to agree on everything either,
no,
Kelly.
no,
That's
absolutely
why
not.
we do this because we have different.
Absolutely. But guides, from what I understand, from my experience, most guides have been on Earth before. They've had at least one lifetime here. So they understand the pitfalls of Earth and how difficult it is and how challenging it is.
Yes,
Where
yes.
angels, I don't think that they haven't had physical lives here. They kind of
But
come
there
in
are
and
guys,
swoop out.
yeah, but there are also guys that have never been on the earth. They're also
Yeah, that's true. The higher beings, for
the higher
sure.
realms. So those
Yeah,
could be
for
angels.
sure.
I guess the labels don't really matter, right? It's more the work that matters and how they help us and assist us. So if we with your angels, I always have, and this is just me generally speaking, and I always have a hard time as I've done this work for many years getting into, and my points of view have changed over the years
I
totally.
know.
But when people place human traits onto things that aren't human, like, I need the name of my guide, I need the name of my
Yeah.
guide. Well, it's more energetic when you feel a certain energy. Like if you tune yourself to an energy, you feel them. And later at the end, we'll do a little exercise with us, and you'd feel the difference in the energy. That's more the different frequencies is how I would really respond to their identification. I mean,
It's funny you said that because I never really got a name from my guides ever.
they
Was
don't
never did. It really is not important.
They give you feelings. It's not
Mhm.
important. It's important for the human
Yeah.
for the conceptualize it, but it's not for them. It's more energetic, and it's more important what they help you, assist you with, and
Yeah.
how they merge with who you are. They're part of us, and I think it's they bring out those aspects of themselves, maybe that they've perfected, if we can, or evolved with. That they try to help us to evolve those other similar aspects.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're always guiding us. I mean, we're always looked after. We never walk alone. We
No,
never walk alone, and we
it's
always
not possible.
it's not possible. And
Mm-mm.
it's so interesting because there's so many realms around us and levels into here.
Mhm.
It's all around us, and they're always around helping us.
So people are asking, what's the best process to connect to your guides?
You read the book Wisdom from Your Guides, and
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
understanding your guides.
Hmm.
So there are many different ways, and I have a class on it in my school as well with your guides. But to me, again, I'm a real proponent, and this is my meditation course which showed me today about sitting in the quiet, sitting in the silence, the stillness, and really becoming aware of that space. And with that space, you become aware. And again, with this exercise later, a little bit of this, where you become so aware of that surrounding, and that you ask a guide to come to you, and you become more of the energy. So we'll do it later. It's a way of doing it, but that's one way. Another way you can do it, which is really lovely. I like to put myself in an alternate state of consciousness. So whether that's doing a breathing exercise, bringing up and relaxing and just surrendering. And then another way is you can have a piece of a pad and a pen and ask an inspirational guide to give you a message and automatic writing. I've done this in workshops, and it's
Mm.
amazing what comes through. I was once thinking of doing a whole book of just the messages that people have gotten in workshops. Do it that way. That's a good way of doing it. An
That's
easy
a
way.
great way to do it.
Yeah, it's a great way of doing it. Do it before bed, or just wait, just when you wake up. Be also another
Right.
great time to do that. So have it all prepared when you go to sleep at night. Have it next to your bed. When you wake up, the first thing you do is you reach for the pen and the pad, and you ask them to come in and give you a message for the day. And that's when you could do that. You could also do this. I'm going to give you something. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
My guy just gave me something. Ha, 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 ha. I know. This is what happens to me. I get crazy. Ladies, you know that. I think that I've seen something like this last time. What I would do is circle. So,
Okay.
right? So and I put JDP, right? Right. And then I'm gonna do a line on top, on the bottom, here, just 4 right now. I'm gonna put circles around them. There's no sacred way of doing this. Just making this stuff up. They give me this. Okay. There are 4 circles. And then in the morning, did I freeze? No.
There you are.
All right. So then 4 circles. And then in the morning, what you're going to do is ask them, who are you? And let them fill in the circles, the different guides. And then see an inspirer, a healer and guide, and see what they do and do it that way.
Oh, God, I love that.
Isn't that great?
Mm-hmm.
That works. That does work.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting too. I mean, one of the things that I learned along the way here is, I'll never forget, Don asked me, my husband asked me years ago, he said, what's the name of my guide? And I said, I don't know. Why don't you ask him? So he went to bed and he wakes up about 6 a.m. and he said, oh my God, he told me his name. I said, what's his name? He said, Nathan, and he's a Native American and he's huge. He told me his name. So I said, Nathan? He said, yeah. Well, the weirdest thing happened after that. About a week later, our friend Sue, remember our friend Sue?
How can I forget Sue?
She was having a Reiki session, and she said, out of the blue, she called me and she said, oh, I had the wildest day today. I said, how'd it go? She said, well, I had a Reiki session and my guide came through, and guess what, Kellee? He's a big Native American and his name is Nathan. I said, are you effing kidding me? How's that possible? So I said that to Don. Don goes, I don't want to share my guide, but the thing is, but guides can work with other people, right?
Oh, of course.
It may not just be one guide, or it might be other people.
It's like a teacher,
right?
Students, same thing.
And maybe is it possible, James, that a guide could watch over a group of people?
A soul group.
A soul group.
You betcha.
So do you think families have guides?
I think families have guides. I think friends have guides. I think our soul group that we live with, we have our guides of that soul group. No doubt about it. And we have individual guides for us as well.
Right.
Guides, soul group guides. We do. Well,
then let me ask you this. If we have individual guides and then we have our family guides and the family members are not getting along, do you think that they somehow influence us to maybe make amends or say, I'm sorry, or
100%. Oh, I've done in readings. I've had them come through and talk about that. I've been trying to get through, and I'm sorry I did this, and I'm trying to make you the family connect again. So sorry I left the family a mess. I shouldn't have done this. I'm trying to connect you all. And I've done it right here on Zoom calls when I've done readings where they said, your mother said you're not talking to your sister, and no, I'm not. She wants you to write a card to her. And she said, please heal. She said, one of the most important things to do while you're on this earth is to forgive. Is to forgive and see the bigger picture, because it's a much bigger picture. And
so that's a lesson that the guides are trying to teach us.
Very much so. Yeah. Thank you, Kellee.
We'll see everybody next week.
Next week.
A great show next week. Take care.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.